give me such a great opportunity. So first, can you see my PPT?
It is visible. Ma'am, it is visible.
Okay, this way. So let's start.
Yes, ma'am, you can start.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So this is your second year. Today I'm going to discuss was E-301 assignment, inclusive education, which is prescribed by CCS University, Meerut. You can see a picture depicts, this picture clearly depicts that the children who learn together live together. Do you know that around the world, children are excluded from schools because of disability, race, language, religion, gender, and poverty. But education is our human right. So no one should be deprived from education just because of disability, religion, race, language, gender, and poverty. So let's see what is inclusive education. Inclusive education is made from two words. First one is inclusive and second word is education. So what does inclusive means? Inclusive education means to include or to make one, which means शामिल करना. हम किसी को कोई भी चीज शामिल करते हैं, उसको हम क्या कहते हैं? Inclusive education. Education means process of facilitating learning. So inclusive education, every child, whether normal or a child with special needs, is given equal opportunity to study in school with some special facilities. So inclusion is including children common school and taught together irrespective of their diversity. चाहे वो ट्राइबल हो, डिसेबल्ड हो, ये सारी चीजें भुलाकर उनको एजुकेशन दिया जाता है. For example, hearing impaired children may require an hearing aid. Likewise, auditory training, lips, etc. So just like orthopedically children, yeah, orthopedically handicapped children may require wheelchairs and for removal of their architecture barriers. So in inclusive education, every child has the right to education according to the limits of the capacity. Next, moving to the next slide, we can see that what is the definition and meaning of inclusive education. This it refers to education system that accommodates all children in spite of their physical, intellectual, social, emotional, linguistic, and other conditions. We can include all children because of their diverse groupings in multicultural, multilinguistic, and many religions. Indian Constitution clearly refers that all individuals, irrespective of caste, class, gender, are valued members of society. So when all children, regardless of their differences, are educated together, everyone can be benefited. So we can see that this definition was given by Emma Chardy 2003. It shows inclusive education means all learners, young people with or without disabilities, being able to learn together in ordinary preschool provision schools and communities, educational settings with appropriate network of support. So through inclusive education, we focus on our strength, not on our weakness. समावेशी शिक्षा से ये है जो विशिष्ट आवश्यकता वाले विद्यार्थियों को सामान्य विद्यार्थियों के साथ बैठाकर सामान्य रूप से पढ़ाना है, ताकि सामान्य विद्यार्थियों या फिर विशिष्ट विद्यार्थियों में कोई भेदभाव ना रहे, दोनों के विद्यार्थियों को जो वो अच्छी तरह से एक दूसरे से देखकर पढ़ सके। तो जो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड, who was included in inclusiveness? We can see that children remote in tribal areas, working children, children with disabilities, girls living in difficult circumstances, all children are included in inclusiveness. Gifted children, mentally retarded children, and talented children, creative children, and autism bache, all these children are included in inclusive education. Moving to the next slide. What are the features of inclusive education? The first one is zero rejection. It means schools and district have zero rejection policy when it comes to registering and teaching children within their region. The school system do not have the option to accept or reject child in education. The next is all children are welcomed and valued. In inclusive education, education should be given to all students without any discrimination. And the next is all children in regular heterogeneous classroom with the same age peers. Means all children can learn in same classroom with the same age peers. And it is the individualized educational program. That means it emphasizes on special training. If any students require special material, special training, the school will provide all the facilities in inclusive education. And the next one is all children contribute to regular school and classroom learning activities and events. कोई भी बच्चे को हम अलग नहीं कर सकते. All children can contribute to regular school and classroom learning activities. जो school में पढ़ाई अकेले नहीं होते. There are many activities. There are many events. So all children, if they are disabled or abled, they should attend all the learning activities and events in inclusive education. And the next point is all children are supported to make friends and to be socially successful with their peers. That means it's about building friendship and membership, having opportunities just like anyone else. The students get an opportunities to start with. जो बच्चे को opportunities मिलते हैं, जैसे disabled बच्चे को कभी-कभी क्या करते हैं, घर वालों ने स्कूल में भेजते नहीं, तो ऐसे बच्चों को भी स्कूल में भेजते समय they can interact with other students also and they can learn many things. So this is the features of inclusive education. Next, we can see need of inclusive education, inclusion in education. Why inclusive education added in B.Ed curriculum? You know, no consideration. First point is no consideration of disabled children. So there is no, it is in earlier days, no consideration was given to education of disabled children. So there is a need of system to assist these children. And the next one is protection of rights. Child has right of the fundamental right of the education. In inclusive education, this concept is introduced so that their right will not be hampered. Indian Constitution में कहता है हर बच्चे को राइट है उनके कास्ट के अनुसार उनके या फिर डिसेबल्ड की वजह से उनको जो एजुकेशन से वंचित नहीं किया जा सकता. And the next is inclusive education is cost effective. So inclusive education is cost effective. That means there is no जो स्पेशल एजुकेशन है उसके लिए हमें क्या करना होता है, जो स्पेशल मटेरियल्स बनाना होता है, स्पेशल ट्रेनिंग टीचर्स चाहिए. बट जो बच्चों को हम इंक्लूजन में करने की वजह से उनके लिए स्पेशल जो बिल्डिंग, देयर इज नो नीड ऑफ स्पेशल बिल्डिंग लाइक दिस. सो इंक्लूजन इज कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव. And the next one is respects for God's creation. We all are living in a world and a society, so we respect our for God's creation. And the next one is compassion. We are living in a society, so we should compassion to others. हमें दूसरों को देखकर हमेशा सोसाइटी में हमेशा मतलब हम देख सकते हैं बच्चे को और जो बहुत सारे लोगों को, we should have compassion to others. And the next point is freedom from discrimination. In inclusive education, जो discriminations है, just like caste, creed, इन सब से freedom मिलती है. So and selfless service. What are the importance of inclusive education? First one is education for all students. That means no one is deprived from the education. Education, inclusive education, ये सबके लिए है. जो disabled बच्चे हो, learning disability हो, gifted children हो, talented children हो, creative children हो, या फिर multi problems बच्चे हो, इन सबके लिए education for all students. And the second is right to education. I already told you, हमारी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ये कहते हैं right to education, equal opportunities देते हैं education के लिए. So right to education and develop a sense of belongings, provides better opportunities for learning. Inclusive education means you should give better opportunities for learning. And it is child-centered learning. In inclusive education, children have varied needs and abilities. Therefore, it ensures use of different learning style in the classroom so that every child should learn appropriately. Every lecture should be given in the class according to the needs of children. In a class, there are many children. Average होगा, intellectual होगा, और average से कम वाले बच्चे होंगे. लेकिन education should be given to child से जो सब बच्चों का वो देखकर child centered learning होना चाहिए. And the next one is fosters a culture of respect and belonging. It means provides the opportunity to learn about and accept individual differences. It provides children with opportunity to develop friendship with another one, and provides opportunity to friendship with another one. And the next slide is policies and legislation for inclusive education. All these are government policies. First one is Rehabilitation Council of India, RCI Act 1992. RCI Act provides for the right of children to free and compulsory education to the children of 6 to 14 years age group, including children with special needs. And the second one is Person with Disability Act. In Person with Disability Act is also for the right of person with Disability Act gives equal opportunities, protection of rights and full participation. It has replaced existing PWD Act 1995. And the next one is National Trust for Welfare of Person with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation, and Multiple Disability Act, National Trust Act 1999. And the next one is Right to Education Act 2009, Right to Person with Disability Act, and Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan. Sir already, Rajesh sir already explained about Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and then Inclusive Education for Disabled at Secondary Stage, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. So our topic is promoting NGOs in inclusive education. So here we can see that what is the role of non-government organization, NGO. An NGO is non-government organization, is a private institution. As its name suggests, it is an independent of the government. NGO essentially are non-profit making and purely service-centered organization committed to the development and welfare of the community. We people might have definitely met some people working with poor by offering educational or health service, or even others giving training to the underprivileged people. They are most likely to the people who belong to NGO. Normally, they will be taking up challenges that government is not undertaking. They will be one providing services to the needy. For example, if you have heard of NGO who are meeting the needs of people suffering poor health, undernourishment, or hit by tsunami, just like some. So NGO is a non-governmental organization and it's a private organization. Some of NGOs may be a group of volunteers to sustain individual or families, while others may embrace the communities to bring out social changes or transformation. What are the characteristics of NGO? They are private, separate from government. They are self-governing, not controlled by the government. They are registered organization for informal groups which clearly defined aim and objective. These NGOs are private, separate from government, and self-governing, not controlled by the government. What are the working of NGOs? NGOs demonstrate a sense of commitment. Most NGOs have started by commitment of an individual or a group concerned to demonstrate this in action. Many times they are not experts, but have a heart of helping people. And NGOs, working primarily with the poor. There is wide recognition in government and corporate bodies that NGOs have significant role to play in working with the poor. With recent experience, they know that this is not just through giving aid, but in assisting the poor to break out their condition of poverty. And the next one is NGOs are able to reach remote areas of need. NGOs are often able to reach sections of rural populations that government either neglect or do not target as priority. Sadly, sometimes government agencies will claim to have conducted programs in such a remote areas, but there is little to prove it. So it is their commitment that takes them into the remote rural areas to identify the poorest segment of communities, identifying those who face in acute poverty. And the next how to work NGOs is NGOs possess first-hand knowledge of local conditions. Most NGOs, being grassroots level operations, make efforts to know as much as possible about local people and their condition. This is not just the socio-economic, environmental conditions of the area, but also the attitudes of the local people also. And NGO depends on donors for their funding. Most NGOs depend donors unless they have been their own founders for provision. And some large companies have their own NGOs, but there are companies जो donate करते हैं, जैसे there could be individuals, groups, national, international service agencies, business house, charitable trust, specially give to donation. So let's look how to make this file. The first page of the file should be your college name and the topic and B.Ed second year sessional work. What is the assignment? Is sab hona chahiye. And I want to give an example. The topic of this study is educational development of underprivileged children, a study of NGOs engaged in the educational development of underprivileged children. So to study these educational NGOs, first you have to identify NGOs in your area, in your locality, and you can visit there. After that, you have to study first of all introduction. In introduction, you can write down about NGOs, educational development, what are their educational development, and the next is purpose of the study. That means objectives of the study. Objectives may be educational purpose and teachers, how to teachers कैसे पढ़ा रहे हैं, बच्चों को समझ में आ रहे हैं कि नहीं, जो अंडर प्रिविलेज चिल्ड्रन के लिए जो क्लासेस होते हैं, ये सब हो सकते हैं. And the next is design of the study. Then you have to describe the design of the study, means research design. In research design, we must remember what are the sources of data. Sources may be teachers, students of the NGOs, and documents of the NGOs, etc. And the next is nature of the study. And nature of the studies, you must have written qualitative data and maybe quantitative data. The next step is data collection. For data collection, we can use questionnaire and interview tools, etc. Here we can see that in the study, primary data collection by semi-structured interview and secondary collection, data collection from annual reports, brochure, and website, etc. And the next step is data analysis. And the next step is finding of the study, where whatever found in the studies, you have to write. And the conclusion is usually from an important part of a project, and it is brief of any report or documentation. After that, at last, you have to write down the references that is basically from where you have gathered the sources of information regarding the study. Now you can see the example of inclusive education, which was made by one of our students. The topic, a study of NGO promoting inclusive education, and the index. In index, you have to write down introduction, significance of the study, why you are क्यों मतलब ये study कर रहे हैं, what is the importance of the study, and the objectives of the study, methodology, secondary data, findings, analysis, and interpretation. After that, what is the role of NGO, management of NGO. So you can write all this: significance of the study, objectives of the study, methodology, secondary data, role played by the NGO, and features of activities of NGO management, and last one is recommendations. I hope you all understand how to make this file. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.